My bitch bad, always looking like she pissed off. Bougie bitch like a suck it with the lip gloss. Winning team, yeah, we won before the tip off. We got all these blues, yeah, we had a strip off. Last night we pulled a 8, we had a sip off. Facing all these woods, yeah, we blew a zip off. Bitch, I'm flying in the rocket, finna lift off. If that bitch ain't got no money, tell her get.
High beams, low beams, turn signal 4-way, flash, turn signal 4-way marker light.
Built as proper level, the cap is secured on tight. Bottom radiator hose is properly mounted, secured, not been cracked or broken, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, or no leaks, and the clamps are secured on tight. Top
upper radiator hose. Yep.
And then the bottom one is on the other side.
On the other side. Yep.
My power steering fluid reservoir is properly mounted, secure, not bent, cracked, or broken, and it's not leaking. And the cap is secure, is tight. Some missing clamps. My water pump is properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken, with no loose or missing bolts, has no leaks, and it is belt driven. My belt is properly mounted and secured. It's not cut, torn, or frayed, has no more than 3/4 inch of play. Stick. My oil cap is properly mounted and secured, not been cracked or broken, and it's filled to its proper level. I'll take my stick out, wipe it off, place it in, look at the oil line. If it's under the oil level, I'll add a gallon in the oil, and the cap is secure tight. My airlines is properly mounted and secured from end to end, with no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and no leaks, and also no loose or missing clamps. My air compressor is properly mounted and secured. It's not bent, cracked, or broken, but no loose or missing bolts, and it's not leaking, and it is gear driven. Also by my air compressor is my power steering pump. It is properly mounted and secured. It's not been cracked or broken, with no loose or missing bolts, and it's also gear driven and not leaking. So then I'll talk about my steering shaft is properly mounted and secured from end to end. It is not bent, cracked, or broken, with no loose or missing bolts. I have U joints at the end that are properly greased, and nothing is bent, cracked, or broken, or missing. My gearbox is properly mounted and secured, not been cracked or broken, and it's not leaking, has no loose or missing bolts. My pinman arm, drag link, upper, and my tie rod are all properly mounted and secure with castle nut and Carter keys, and they're not been cracked or broken. My airlines to my brake chamber are properly mounted and secure from end to end, with no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and no leaks, and also no loose or missing clamps. My brake chamber is properly mounted, secure, not been cracked or broken, and it's not leaking, has no dents. My push rod and slack adjuster are properly mounted, secured. Nothing is bent, cracked, or broken. They're both held together by a cotter pin, and when the brakes are released, it should not be no more than an inch of pull from the push rod. My shock absorber is properly mounted, secure from end to end. No loose or missing bolts, and it's not leaking, and it's not been cracked or broken. Then my brake shoe and brake lining has no illegal welds, not been cracked or broken, is free from oil and grease, and the shoe lining has no less than 1 1/4 inch at its thinnest point. My front spring mount and my rear spring mount are properly mounted, secure, not been cracked or broken, has no loose or missing bolts. My middle mount is properly mounted, secure, with 2 U-bolts and 4 nuts, and they're not been cracked or broken, and none are missing, and nothing is loose. My leaf spring is properly mounted, secured, not been cracked or broken, and they're not scissoring, and it's free from illegal welds. My inner and outer tire walls have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and it's not leaking. My overall condition of my tire should be no less than 4/32 inch of depth. Should be checked with a tire gauge, and it should be inflated to its manufacturer, located on the side of the tire wall. And it should have no cupping, no dents, and no puncture. This is not leaking in the tire. And since it is a steer tire, It should be virgin rubber, not recaps or retreads. My tire is securely mounted to my rim. My rim has not been cracked or broken, has no illegal welds. My lug nuts are properly mounted, secure. They're all there and present. None are bent, cracked, or broken. No sign of any looseness. Any sign of no looseness, no shininess, and no streakiness, and no rust around it, which would indicate a loose lug. My outer valve, metal valve is properly secure, not being cracked or broken. It's not leaking and it's not loose. And the cap is secured tight. I always check the other tire just as I check this tire. My overall condition of my lines and hoses, they're not exposed wiring, they're not leaking, and they're properly mounted secured. Alternator is properly mounted secured, not being cracked or broken. And the wires to my alternator are not exposed wiring, and they're properly mounted secured with nuts and bolts. My power steering fluid, my washer reservoir and fluid is properly mounted secured, not being cracked or broken. It's filled 50% of the way, and the cap is secured tight. And on the other side, I have my air compressor lines. They're properly mounted secure, not being cracked or broken, has no loose or missing bolts, and it's not leaking. Remember, if you're talking about hoses, you say abrasions, bulges, or cuts, or leaks. When you're talking about anything that's hardware, you say no loose or missing bolts. When they talk about the hoses, you also say clamps. And everything has to be properly mounted and secured, so that's something I say first, because if it's not properly mounted or secured, then anything else will fall off. And then after that, if it's hardware, I say no loose or missing bolts and not bent, cracked, or broken. If it's hoses, I say abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and also no leaks and no loose or missing clamps. If it's wiring, I say no exposed wiring, and sometimes they come with bolts and sometimes they come with clamps. It just depends on your truck.
Bag, my little bitch, I pick you up and we go shopping. Got her way in Boston and she say that she from Stockton. She know I'm that nigga, she know I'ma keep it poppin'. Yeah, we the shit, baby, we that trending topic. I'ma grab that wax seal, I'ma call a decoy. Pulling out that backing out that big boy. Only wear big chains, only park big toys. Pulling